Welcome in, everybody, to what is race number 2 of the newly created Friday Night Rush Hour series presented by DegaPros and its captain, John Ward. Tonight we're going to be running the Gen 4 cars, something that we kind of rarely see these days, but they do still make an appearance every now and then. Last week it was the 87s, and John Ellis was your winner. This is a 5-race series. Points are being kept. And obviously the results of last week are going to be the points of this week. John Ellis, with his win, got 5 extra bonus points in the way the point system works. So congrats to him. However, he is not in tonight's field. So it's going to be an interesting thing to look out for right now. The drivers are getting on the grid right now. We're going to go ahead and go through your starting grid right here. Matthew Baker for NBG will start on the pole position tonight with Vicente Guerrero for Nightmare eSports in P2. Asher Little will start third tonight. J.R. Miller for PGR in fourth. Dawson Wise for the Jack Shack in fifth. Nathan Harper in sixth. Sean Corbett in seventh. David Sheets in eighth. Scott McLean in ninth. And Chase Mastretta, also for Nightmare eSports, will round out the top 10. Brian Hennings will start tonight's race from 11th position. Mark Vondell will roll off P12 for McCullough Motorsports. P13 tonight be Ron Morris Jr. also for McCullough, and James Waring in 14th. Garrett Caswell in 15th. Jonathan Herbert 16th. Chris Keynes in 17th. Dylan Jones 18th. John Ward 19th. And Trevor Osranoff in P20. David Flanagan will start 21st. Ron Hunter 22nd. Josh McCullough 23rd. Heath Job 24th. 25th will be Hunter Hastings. Kenny McCullough Jr. 26th. Ambrose Knable 27th. And Derek Raleigh rounds out the field in 28th position tonight. Go ahead and pull up the race info as well. As I mentioned, it is the Gen 4 Cup Series cars tonight. Kind of the older body, the kind of like 02 to 07 era of NASCAR Cup Series race cars, the Twisted Sister body models on those things. It's going to be a 50-lap race with 40% in the fuel tanks. Unlimited tire sets for the field tonight, but there is no fast repair, so they're going to have to be a little bit conservative, not get too aggressive early and take each other out and yada yada. Fixed setups, as always, and 3 attempts at an overtime should we need them. Tonight's race control is John Ward, as we mentioned. Usually he runs these races. It looks like he actually is running in tonight's race, so that is interesting that he is deciding to run in tonight's race instead of be the RC up in the booth. So it's going to be an RC on the racetrack. Hopefully the field can keep it clean and not make his job difficult for him. Also, lots of different paint schemes out here tonight. A lot of the just different logos and numbers and all that we're used to seeing on a lot of these cars, like Matthew Baker and the Lightning McQueen paint down there on the bottom. There's a few other guys, it's just, you wouldn't recognize them, and honestly, I wouldn't either. So try and bear with me as we go through this one, because everyone looks different for the most part, apart from a few. So we're going to kind of have to learn them as we go. Yeah, hopefully this will be a fun one. We did Gen 4 cars in the Super Speedway Kings series when Jimmy Crow came back a couple weeks back, and it was a stacked field. There was about 50 cars in that race. Unfortunately, it kind of had a lot of cautions, lots of crashes here and there. Not sure what that was due. I mean, these cars are a little bit different. Some people just might not be used to them. But we had a little bit of a smaller field here tonight, only 28 cars, so hopefully we won't have too many issues in this one. It looks like, as a side note, Trevor Osranoff and Joshua McCullough have missed the grid. So they're going to need to hop onto the track quickly and get their black flags cleared so they can join in the pack. But out front, it is Matthew Baker and Vicente Guerrero going to be leading the field to the green flag here in this 50-lap event for the Friday Night Rush Hour Series. Here they come into the box now. Green flag is in the air, and we are racing at Talladega. coming to the end of lap 1 here, it looks like J.R. Miller is going to get the edge over Vicente Guerrero, who dropped down in front of Matthew Baker, and the outside line just keeps feeding cars down to the bottom. It looks like that's going to be the prevailing line, at least early on in this event. With a good push from Nathan Harper, JR takes the lead. Now he has Dawson Wise behind him in that Tide Ride number 9 for the Jack Shack. Lead pusher on the outside. We'll see what he's going to be able to do, pushing Nathan Harper here on the outside. Into 3, it's pretty calm right now. Not too much action going on in the back. Looks like everyone's kind of content to just sit where they are, but like we said, it's a very light fuel load tonight. Only a 40% full tank in these cars, so they're going to have to probably think about fuel at this point. This could very well be a 2-stop race. I'm not entirely 100% sure on that. It's obviously going to be a 1-stop at least, but considering how light the load is, we could have a fuel race on our hands. Nathan Harper takes the lead at the end of lap 2. Dawson Wise doing everything he can to keep him there. Like Chase Mastroda's in the back. A little bit wiggly right there. He's in that Dale Jr. Tribute number 8 Bud car for the old DEI days. All the junior fans out there probably going to be cheering for Chase Mastretta. And this one, Chase himself is a big Dale Sr. and Dale Jr. fan. Not a surprise to see him running that paint scheme. Yeah, just a lot of 2x2 action right now. They're just kind of biding their time, as they should be doing. Got a little bit of a long race. Like it's not that long, you know, but it can be a marathon, or it can be a sprint sometimes. You just kind of never know with these races. But kind of dead even coming to round off lap 3. Looks like Harper's going to lead this one as well. So that outside line advantage, something's kind of going wrong right there. They were able to clear 2 cars down to the bottom in front of Matthew Baker, but now they're kind of stalling out where they are. Looks like Dawson Wise is getting warm, and he's going to need to cool his temps off right here coming out of 2. Down the backstretch, they're still just hanging where they're at right now. Like David Sheets up here, ooh, getting a little squirrely right there. Chase Mastretta might try and take that right out from under him, but he's going to let him back in. And now Matthew Baker's going to file up into that Lightning McQueen number 95 up to the outside line and be the 3rd in line. But that's going to kind of stall out the momentum of both lines. This is a 4-car breakaway up the front. Into 1, a little bit of shuffling around, as we saw right there at the front of the field. JR still doing a good job on the bottom, trying to hold on to his lead, fight off Nathan Harper on the outside. Vicente Guerrero doing everything he can to keep him there. But Matthew Baker obviously did not want to be on that bottom side. He saw what happened to him early on, getting cleared by 2 cars, shuffling him back. He wanted back to that outside line as soon as possible, and he managed to get up there with the mistake from David Sheets in the 06. Nathan Harper just again with a slight advantage, but he might not be able to clear. He's going to clear. Right down in front of J.R. Miller. That was a close one, but Dawson Wise, that's going to be music to his ears because now he can get some fresh temps and not run the risk of blowing his engine early in this one, especially without having a fast repair to rely on if that were to even happen. Matthew Baker doing a good job of already getting him even with Harper out at 2. What a push from Matthew Baker to the outside. Dawson Wise is going to have a look at getting clear into turn 3. But just not close enough. He's still going to have to stay on the outside for now. Matthew Baker did a fantastic job pushing Dawson Wise right there, but now that bottom's going to roll. It's going to be up to Nathan Harper to see if he wants to try and control these lanes right here. It's not something you really see often in this Gen 4 car. These are a little bit different. They're very fast. Mark Vondel's getting loose in the back. A little bit of scattering going around. Looks like they were all able to save it. It's good to see that early in this one. You obviously don't want to see an early caution. It's a good job on the back part of the field of holding on to it. But back up front, Harper's extending the lead a little bit. The edge he has over that top lane. Now J.R. Miller doing a good job on the bottom, keeping Harper in the lead and keeping him at least even with the outside or better. Come out of 4 this time. JR's riding a little bit high right there in the corner. Not sure if he's trying to get a little bit of temps to his engine or a little bit of tunnel vision going on right there for JR, but he's still doing a good job with Nathan. Vicente Guerrero and Asher Little in the 14 and the 01 down there on the bottom behind J.R. Miller in the 78, laying way far off right now. There's not a lot of tightness between the bottom lane right now. They're all kind of leaving pretty substantial gaps behind each other. Now it's starting to close back up. Now Dawson Wise is going to have the edge over Nathan Harper. But Matthew Baker, as you saw right there, he's already hot, and that's going to cause a stack up a little bit in the back. David Sheets, Chase Mastretta. You see Baker peeking out to get some air to that engine. Now we see Nathan Harper is going to hop up to the outside line and control these lanes, like we said. That's going to open it up for J.R. Miller down on the bottom. He's going to have to put his faith in Vicente Guerrero to keep him in the lead to where he has the opportunity of controlling the lanes. There's a lap car right here. That's going to be Trevin Osmernoth. Going to go a lap down early in this one on lap 9. As we said, he missed the grid, and it looks like Josh McCullough did not even start the race. So some adversity early for Trevor Osmernoth for the Jack Shack right there, getting lapped right here. I'm sure he doesn't have too much to worry about because he'll most likely have a caution at some point to get his lap back. As long as he stays in this pack and doesn't get any incident points, he should be A-okay for the rest of this one. Back up front, still Harper and Miller controlling both of the lanes here. Dawson Wise and Vicente Guerrero, the former teammates at Nightmare. Vicente, is still a member of Nightmare eSports. Dawson Wise made the move over to the Jack Shack a couple of months ago. He took a little bit of a vacation from money racing in general. He was gone for a while, but here he is back, and he's doing a really, really good job so far in this one. I know we're only 10 laps in, but you always want to be at the front. You always want to be competitive and be able to control the race the way you want to control it, not have someone else be the one controlling your fate. Which right now, the best people in the house is J.R. Miller and Nathan Harper. J.R. is going to try and clear up, and there's going to make contact with Nathan Harper, and Vicente Guerrero is going to get loose. We're wrecking. Sean Corbett, this is the big one already. Chase Mastretta, Garrett Caswell. Everybody, look at this accident that we've just had. James Waring, Sean Corbett, Scott McLean involved, Jonathan Herbert, it appears as well, Heath Job, Mark Vondell. Wow. Caution number 1 of the race, and it was a big one. I'm going to go ahead and take a look back at this one real quick. This looked like it originated around David Sheets and Chase Mastretta. We're going to go ahead and move up to David Sheets right here and get a top-down view so we can see what really happened right here. Okay, so it looks like there's a big gap in the middle between the two lanes. Mastretta's going to go to the middle and try and force it under David Sheets. And he does so successfully. Oh, this happens at the bottom. Garrett Caswell and Sean Corbett make contact under this. Sends Mastretta into Sheets. Scott McLean nowhere to go. Brian Hennings, James Waring nowhere to go either. Big hits up against the wall for everyone. This one, Derek Raleigh. Oh, look at that. Number 30 car right there, which I do believe was Ron Hunter in that 30 car. This was a very large accident, and bam, right there. Sean Corbett going to get upended again at the bottom of the racetrack. Look at John Ward in the 92 doing everything he can to miss this one. He's going to come to a full stop and barely hit David Sheets, as is the story with Heath Job, John's teammate. Barely going to get a little bit of contact right here. Their races are going to be fine, but a lot of these guys are most likely going to be done for the night. Let's look at this view real quick. Yeah, wow, just a hook from Caswell into Corbett. Just a massive crash. Look at some of those hits to the safer barrier. So Heath Job might not be okay. He took a big impact to that outside wall. Early on in this one, like we said, no fast repairs tonight. This will spell the end of the night for a lot of these guys. Look at David Sheets trying to get his car back going. Let's see if we can get a couple more angles of this one. Let's see what old Barney the Flagman sees on this one. Right here in the tri-oval, look at it. Just the field starts flying apart. Surprised we didn't have any go over in that one. Lots of cars up in the air, getting rear-ended and sent airborne, but nobody fully went over on their roofs. There's Ambrose Knebel involved as well. He might not have a lot of damage. It looks like he's going to get back going in that 04 car. Go ahead and take this back live. There's a look at Brian Hennings, who was involved in the wreck. Let's see if we can look through. So here's Ambrose Knebel, who's got a brand new nose on his car. Good to see that. There's Dylan Jones. Derek Raleigh coming back out as well, looking pretty good. Vicente Guerrero. Take some more looks like it. This would be Sean Corbett. Just all sorts of damage on Sean Corbett's car. Look at him. Look at him trying to feel his steering out right there. But he's going to need a lot more caution to try and repair that machine. David Sheets, Scott McLean, James Waring, he might be okay. It's pretty significant left front damage right there, but he should be all right in this. There's Garrett Caswell. David Flanagan in the 99. Looks like he's going to be okay. Kind of need more nose damage fixed on that one. Ron Hunter, Heath Job, Trevor Osranoth. Did not look like he was involved in the accident, so he should get his lap back on this one. It looks like Chase Mastretta is out of tonight's event. But the leader of the race right now is indeed Nathan Harper and J.R. Miller. Once again, going to be leading this one after our first big one on the night, and hopefully the only big one. He said it looks like it only completely ended the race of one driver, and that will be Chase Mastretta. Everyone else is trying to get their damage repaired and continue on in the race. There's Asher Little down there on the apron in the 01 Sun Drop machine. Trying to save a little bit of fuel riding down there on the apron. Luckily, that is something that we are allowed to do in money racing. We can go under the apron for the purpose of saving fuel. I know lots of other series, like the Coke series and things of that nature, have banned their drivers from doing that, but I'm not honestly sure how much it adds to anything when you're coasting down there, but of course a little bit can add up to a lot when you're saving fuel, especially in a race with as tight of a fuel window as we have here tonight. Kenny McCullough's found his way into the top 10 in the 03 car back here. Shout out to him. He's kind of had a rough go of things recently in all of money racing in general. Ever since he won his PGR race, he said this to me himself a couple of days back. It's just been downhill from there. So hopefully Kenny can get a good run in tonight. Get him a solid result, solid cash, maybe even a win in this one, which would be his first in this new series. Look at Nathan Harper. Looks like has chosen the outside line. If he is truly the leader of the race, which it appears that he is, we'll see who launches right here. Field's rolling into the Geico restart zone. J.R. Miller, Nathan Harper, Dawson Wise, Matthew Baker, and Asher Little, the top five as they roll into the box. Nathan Harper's going to launch. J.R. gets a good launch on the bottom, though, as they head into one. Single file at the front of this field, all the way back to Kenny McCullough, the last car that is single file in line. Mark Vondell and Brian Hennings trying to make something happen. John Ward's going to go with them. We've got kind of a breakaway in this lead pack right here. John Ward is at the end of it, and Ambrose Knebel kind of bridging the cars in between so they can get a draft in the back pack, but while he's getting the draft from the front pack, that's what a bridge is. He's acting as that bridge car right now. But it looks like he's kind of losing that pack. Trevor Osranoth is on his way, who is still one lap down in this one. He's going to have to try and push Ambrose Knebel right here to get him further up into this so the rest of this field can catch up as well. Very, very, very strung out right now, but back up front, we are three wide racing. Mark Vondell and Brian Hennings. How about this lead in that third line? Mark Vondell wants to take the lead of this thing, and he's going to have a chance as the field goes by Heath Job down there on the bottom, and Sean Corbett. And this right here is definitely not going to be helping this pack's cause in trying to break away from the rest of the field. But Brian Hennings did not want any part of that third lane anymore, and he's going to leave Mark Vondel hanging out there. Hennings all the way down to the bottom, and now Vondel's going to have to slot in line somewhere at the back. Harper leads that lap. J.R. Miller getting real tight on that side draft to the left rear of Nathan Harper's Dallas Cowboys number 7 machine. Trying to keep this lead. How about J.R. Miller? He's up here leading a lot of laps right now. He's a former Little Guy Series champion in the DegaPros series. But right now, Matthew Baker and Nathan Harper, a good combination. As Baker sends Harper all the way to the lead, we'll see if he wants to clear down in front of JR, and he will. That will give Baker fresh temps, as now it's going to be up to Dawson Wise in that 9 tied ride. Try and push Baker up there and do what Harper's doing, controlling this race. Brian Hennings moves back up to the top. He likes what he's seeing out of the middle lane right now. As we see, this pack is slowly kind of forming back together back here. John Ward's all the way to the outside, but as we see, Ambrose Knebel is back. So is Vicente Guerrero, Trevor Oswernoth, Jonathan Herbert, Dylan Jones, Garrett Caswell. But further back from that, here is Derek Raleigh. This is Heath Job and Derek Raleigh. Heath Job is a lap down, who has completely lost the pack. Same story for James Waring, who still has damage. David Sheets as well. Scott McLean, David Flanagan as well. They need another caution to come out quickly so they can get more of their damage fixed to keep up with the pack. Back up front is now Baker and Harper still. Coming out of 4, we'll be coming to lap 18 right here. Ambrose Knebel in the back gets a little loose off the apron right there. This field's back to 2x2. Guess everyone saw what happened with Mark Vondel and Brian Hennings, and they don't really want to try that third lane just yet. It is still early on in this one. No point in getting yourselves wrecked by making a risky move such as that in these cars. Nathan Harper clears to the top. He wants Matthew Baker to push him again. John Ward, just as we say it, he wants to hop the third lane. Now Brian Hennings wants to go back to the third. He's going to try and get the help of John Ward and John Ward's teammate Jonathan Herbert in the back in that third lane to see if they can make anything happen. They're getting tired of the Miller and Harper show at the front of this thing. They want it to become the Hennings and Ward show, but right now they just don't have any help up there. They might get a quick run at it, but they're going to need probably another car for them to be able to clear themselves in front of this one. But right now, nobody else is interested in that third lane right now. Only 3 cars in the middle, and they're still holding tight to that bottom lane. That's making Nathan Harper's job a little bit easier until the outside line gets a run like they just did and shoves Baker back to the front. Baker all the way to the bottom. He was able to clear Harper right there. J.R. Miller's way off the back bumper of Nathan Harper, trying to get his temperatures undoubtedly. Hennings and Ward still hanging tough at the top right there, but eventually John Ward's going to run out of temperatures, and he's going to need someone else up there or someone to hop in front of Brian Hennings so he can get his temps back. How about Ron Morris in the 76? Has found his way to top 5. A little contact between Dawson Wise and Matthew Baker. Jonathan Herbert getting sideways in the back. Brian Hennings still hanging tough up there. John Ward looks like he's going to back all the way out of this one. Now Baker and Harper are both clear of the top line, but neither one want to go up right now. Ron Morris getting a little bit shaky behind Dawson Wise right there. That's going to allow J.R. Miller to clear, and Asher Little will have a look at getting clear out of 4, but that's not going to happen. The third line has now completely gone away. Brian Hennings found a way back into line. They're coming to lap up one more car. I believe that is Scott McLean in the 58 car. Heading into 3, outside's got a little bit of steam again with the push from Ron Morris to the back of Dawson Wise, Jonathan Herbert in tow, as well as Dylan Jones and Brian Hennings, trying to make that line advance as much as they can. It's a unique look because There were 3 cars clear right there and from the bottom that could have gone up, and none of them were interested in doing so. Now, usually, tire wear can become a factor in these cars. It can wear out your tires a little bit. You're just going to start washing up the racetrack, similar to what happened in last night's PGR event, where if you lean on that right side too long, it's going to start pushing you up the racetrack. And the best way to conserve tire at a super speedway is by just riding on the bottom, because you're not fighting the banking. You're just sitting down there. It's the shortest way around. It's also the easiest way around for the tires. Maybe that's coming into play here. It could be fuel, but now that outside line, pushing hard about all the way back to the lead of this thing, doesn't look like they're too worried about fuel right now, especially Ron Morris doing everything he can to push Dawson Wise, but now Matthew Baker hops up in front of Wise. Now Nathan Harper is going to be the leader of the bottom, and he will lead this lap. Middle of 1 and 2. No one else is trying that third lane again. I guess they've seen what happened with Hennings and Vondell and Hennings and Ward, but that doesn't mean the third lane isn't viable. It could just mean that there were only 2 cars up there, and they just didn't have enough momentum, enough help up there on that third lane to get them moving forward. I'm sure later on in this one, we will have quite a few cars try and make that third lane a possibility. Lots of single file out back. Only 5 cars on the outside line right now. Kenny McCullough kind of clipping the apron down there, 5th in line on the bottom. Matthew Baker's going to get pushed clear once again by Nathan Harper. Doesn't look like he's going to take the run that will be coming back with Dawson Wise. And every time I say something like that, they always do the opposite, as Matthew Baker immediately hops up and picks up the push from Wise heading into 3. Jonathan Herbert in the back getting a little bit high. That blue and black Hyper Motorsports number 87. He's going to have to watch out for that, because that means Dylan Jones behind him can take that middle lane, as Chase Mastretta did with David Sheets earlier, away from him. That's going to move him up a road. Heading into 1. Only a few cars still. Oh, Ron Morris decides he doesn't want any more of that outside line. He's going to drop to the bottom. That's definitely going to hurt Matthew Baker and Dawson Wise's cause up here in the second lane, as we got some lap cars coming into play right here. James Waring and David Sheets, it looked like, are going to go another lap down. Lots of damaged race cars out here. I mean, that was a big crash we had earlier. Lots of them going a lap down. We saw David Flanagan on the backstretch getting put 2 laps down in the 99 Carl Edwards machine. But this will be the halfway lap this time by. Lap 26, we'll see who leads this one. It'll be Nathan Harper, it looked like by a nose. That third lane's trying to go somewhere again. How about Jonathan Herbert and Dylan Jones hopping up there? They don't want to sit in line. They want to go out here and race, and that's what they're doing right now. Look at the run they have. Jonathan Herbert's going to get a look at getting clear, potentially, with the push from Dylan Jones. You see Matthew Baker responding with a side draft that kills their run, and now they're going to have to do all that work over again. Nathan Harper blinking severely down there on the bottom lane. You don't want to see that. How about Hunter Hastings up here, 3rd in line in the middle, that number 44 machine. Kind of making a name for himself recently. He did good in the R&R, the Roughneck race on Wednesday. Pushed Dalton Steele to a win in the heat race and was up front, top 5, top 10 for a lot of that one. Had some bad luck towards the end, but since then he's still been riding up front, and here he is trying to fight for a top 5 position with 24 to go. Look at Scott McLean's damaged machine going another lap down as well. Asher Little under the apron. It's starting to look like tire wear is becoming an issue in this one. You kind of see guys getting a little loose, getting a little tight on the entry, and then off the exit getting a little loose maybe, or tight on exit, depends how you're driving your car. Ooh, Hunter Hastings, a big wiggle right there. In the middle, he's still wiggling around in that number 44 machine. would have to assume that a pit stop is coming up in the near future. And we'll know that's coming when we start seeing everyone on that outside line start filing down to the bottom. Because they don't want to run that risk of being on the outside. Well, Jonathan Herbert still wants to make that third work. Here he and Dylan Jones go once again for round number 2 of can we make the third lane work. But right now they're not. Just don't think there was much of a run right there for Herbert. Now Dawson Wise filing in behind Hunter Hastings, going to leave Matthew Baker high and dry. Herbert doesn't want to do him any favors, but Wise is going to let Baker in. And that now just leaves Jonathan Herbert and Dylan Jones on the outside line. Now they're going to be the ones scrambling to get to the bottom lane in preparation for a green flag pit stop that we will expect to see in quite a few laps. Hunter Hastings is going to let Dylan Jones down. Now it'll be up to Jonathan Herbert to try and find his way into that line. It looks like Dylan Jones is leaving a big gap for Herbert, but Herbert's just not there to take it. Now he will, out in front of Jones. But now, we saved that, and we see the McCullough Motorsports Brigade of Ron Morris and Kenny McCullough trying to make their move towards the front, but here come pit stops right here. Lots of cars. Nathan Harper, most of the lead pack right here. Coming in for a pit stop. We'll see if everyone gets in clean, and they will. Brian Henning's a little hot in the back. So far, so good for the pit stops. We got Asher, a little miscommunication right here. Oh, Nathan Harper might miss his box, and he's going to. J.R. Miller was under him, and Nathan Harper is going to have to back into his box. That's going to cost him a lot of time out there on the racetrack, getting his tires and fuel for the rest of this one. That is devastating for Nathan Harper, who's dominated most of this race. Back up front, let's take a look at Ron Morris, Kenny McCullough, Chris Keynes, and Vicente Guerrero, the only 4 cars that stayed out. Most likely going to be coming into pit this time, and sure enough, here they come. Morris, McCullough, Keynes is getting a hot entry, but he's going to be able to make it. Vicente Guerrero is easily going to make it in the back. Good stop for these guys coming in this time by. But Asher Little is the one that has taken the lead of this race in front of that first initial group of cars that pitted. He jumped everybody. He jumped Baker, Harper, obviously, with the mistake that happened to him. But how about Trevin Osbornoff, who was a lap down and was at the very, very back of that pack? He is, at least in a track position sense, in the top 6 breakaway right here. Although this is only a 5-car breakaway, technically, because Osbornoff is a lap car. So for the payout spots, this is 1st through 5th, not 1st through 6th right here. Jonathan Herbert and David Flanagan back there. Flanagan is also a lapped car. But Herbert did about as good of a job as he could to try and keep up with him. It looks like Herbert will be able to catch this pack with the push from David Flanagan. And there's McCullough, Guerrero, and Morris there, who pitted a lap after this group, but they are getting dusted by this initial group of cars that went into pit. And here comes Matthew Baker and Dawson Wise, a lethal duo so far in this one, have worked very efficiently together. But now, the plus side for Dawson Wise is he now has his teammate as he goes going to door Asher Little a little bit. But anyway, Dawson Wise in the 9, that is his teammate Trevor Osbornoff behind him. Now Trevor is a lap down, as we keep mentioning. If he has an incident point and if a caution flag comes out, that will mean the end of his chances at a lucky dog to get his lap back. But he's choosing to be up here and push Dawson Wise. He also has David Flanagan in tow, and it looks like David just decided to take all of his damage and fix it all at once. So he will not be a threat for a cash spot, but their main objective now is getting Dawson Wise, their teammate, a cash spot and potentially a win in this one. He clears down in front of Baker. Lots of contact going on right now. J.R. Miller, this is the furthest back he's been all race. He's sitting there behind David Flanagan, Miller in the 78. Right now, it's just these 2 lapped cars, Osbornoff and Flanagan, that are now leading the lines. Flanagan drops out. Flanagan goes to the 3rd. That leaves Miller leading it. Herbert and Ward, the hyper duo, coming to Miller's aid. Interesting move by Flanagan to hop out. right there. But now Ozranoth is the leader of this pack, but Dawson Wise is the leader of the race. This might hurt Dawson Wise if the outside can get organized. John Ward getting super squirrely into their turn 3. That's going to leave Ron Morrison room for Dylan Jones to hop up behind Herbert. Not sure what went wrong for John Ward right there. That was a tough look for him. I don't know if it was contact or what could have gone wrong right there, but there's Nathan Harper, who, as we see, also is a lap down. Nathan Harper is one of these cars that is a lap down. He's not a lap down, excuse me. iRacing data kind of messing with me again. He's somehow found his way to the back of this pack, but he is a lap down. My apologies. Nathan Harper is a lap down and currently is the second car lap down, the first being Trevor Ozranoth, who right now is in a fantastic position. He's trying to get his lap back the old-fashioned way. He wants to be in front of Dawson Wise if and when the yellow flag comes out. Then he doesn't have to worry about any incident points or anything of that nature to affect his lucky dog status, because then he's technically still on the lead lap, just with the leaders breathing right down his tail. He's trying to get the push from JR Miller. 16 laps to go in this one. It's still JSR leading both lines right now. Matthew Baker and Asher Little. It's been about the same group of guys up front this entire race. Wise, Baker, Harper, who unfortunately had that pit road issue. JR Miller, too. Fantastic run for JR in that 78. Field comes by to lap David Sheets one more time. How about Jonathan Herbert as well? Solid run for him as well in the 87. For Hyper Motorsports, Asher Little, the kid, continues to impress. Every race he does, he's always at the front of these things, whether it's the Light Series, this Rush Hour Series, a PGR race, he's always there. And he has a spot in P4 right now. But he is kind of trapped down there on that bottom. Dawson Wise gets a little out of shape, goes under the yellow line. Baker picks him back up. JR Miller is going to push Ozranoth for all he's worth down the backstretch, but Ozranoth will not be able to clear down in front of Wise. James Waring going another lap down. So many damaged race cars in this one. And a lot of these guys just that are laps down trying to hang on to the back of the pack. How about someone sneaky to look out for back there is Vicente Guerrero in the number 14 machine for Nightmare Esports. He's kind of been sitting at the back ever since the beginning of this. When he started P2, he got shuffled back a little bit, and since then he's just been riding. And him and Ron Morris and Kenny McCullough almost lost this lead pack staying out on their pit strategy. But here he is. Vince likes to do this. He likes to just kind of sit and bide his time at the back of the pack. He doesn't want to get wrecked. He just wants to sit, and he will make his move when he is ready to do it. And I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, he runs these cars very often in the OP series, that league. Vince enjoys his car. Ron Morris loose in front of him. Right there, luckily collects it. But yeah, watch out for Vicente Guerrero towards the end of this one. See what he's able to do. How about Nathan Harper? The guy's a lap down, and he's trying to make a push for the third lane again. He wants to get his lap back the old way, too, or at least work with somebody and try and have some fun in this one. Chris Keen's giving him a look, but he's going to drop back to the middle. Harper outside of Dylan Jones. It might be Jonathan Herbert, the one that hops up in front. Herbert really wanted that third lane earlier, but right now he's just kind of sitting where he is. He sees that Harper doesn't have any help behind him. Maybe he wants to be Harper's help. He's not hopping up just yet. Harper definitely needs some help up there if he wants to try and get his lap back as well. And then we'll have two races at the front. We'll have a race for the lead and a race for who wants to get their lap back the old way. But Harper is just going to have a file back in line. I think he acknowledged that. Riding up on the wall, he's just going to fall back in and try again. Dawson Wise is still the leader of the race with Matthew Baker and JR Miller. Asher Little, Jonathan Herbert, Brian Hennings, Dylan Jones, Ron Morris, Vicente Guerrero, and Kenny McCullough Jr. rounding out the top 10. Only 13 cars on the lead lap of this race. All the way back to 13th place, which is Garrett Caswell, John Ward, Mark Vondell in between. That wreck earlier took out so many cars. Out of contention, at least, for the rest of this one. Osmoroth clear to the bottom, and now JR Miller and Dawson Wise racing for the lead right there. Ignore the 89 car. He is not the leader of this race. It is between the 9 and the 78 right now of who's going to win this one. JR Miller's needing a push from Jonathan Herbert, and Jonathan isn't there. But then again, Dylan isn't really arrow pushing the 87 up to the 78. Sure, JR is begging for a push right about now. Because JR knows also it's two teammates controlling this field, but only one of them that he's actually competing with. But at the end of the day, it is two teammates. JR losing so much time on that outside line right now. Nothing he can do. Bottom line rolling right now with Baker, Wise, Little. Henning's finding his way back into the top 5 of this. Coming to 10 laps to go this time by. We've been clean. Outside of the one early caution, we've been clean in this one. Middle of 1 and 2, JR still just not getting a push at all on that outside. He's doing everything he can to side draft Matthew Baker to force that line back, but he needs Jonathan Herbert in his bumper, and he needs it now. He needs that push almost all the way around the racetrack. You can push in these cars. You can do it very, very easily. There was an update to them. It used to be where if you tried to bump draft in these, it would just lift the guy up and spin him out. Well, now completely different. They have a very solid like hitbox on these things to where you can not slam draft, but you can hit them pretty hard and move forward. So I'm not sure what's really going on that outside line right now, but it is killing JR Miller. He is all the way back to about the 5th row on the bottom. Brian Hennings has found his way up beside him, but we'll see if Baker wants to keep riding behind Wise, or if Asher Little wants to look up. But Little won't be able to, because now there's a run back on the top. But that's still not going to be a good enough run. Now it looks like Herbert, there he goes. He's giving Miller a bit of a push right there at the end of the backstretch. Just what Miller needed. He's all the way back next to Dawson Wise. How about that? You thought it was over for him? Well, he got that push and he's back up here. Now he's kind of losing it again. Still waiting for some of these cars at the back of this one, like Guerrero and McCullough, to see what their plan is. John Ward as well. What is their plan? Are they going to try and lean back and get a run? Look at Chris Keynes. He's going up to the 3rd, but no one goes with him. Nathan Harper's just going to split him. Look at the side draft by JR Miller. He is right on Matthew Baker's door. Doing a fantastic job of side drafting. But swings it a little wide on entry, and that's going to hurt him through the rest of this corner. 7 laps to go this time by. David Sheets pulls low for the leaders. Still Wise and Baker. Top 2 right now. Jonathan Herbert real loose behind, and that's going to hurt JR even more. I'm extremely impressed, if you can't already tell by the job that JR Miller is doing just to keep his position where he is right now. Doing everything possible to suck that bottom line back with a side draft. And he's doing so good. Look at him. Look, it's like a car length and a half to his help behind him, and JR's still sticking to the door of Matthew Baker. And now Herbert just files in at the bottom. JR completely stranded on that outside line. But here comes Dylan Jones and Nathan Harper. Dylan Jones, oh, they're dooring Baker and Miller a little bit. 6 to go this time by, but here comes Dylan Jones to JR Miller's aid. See what Dylan's going to be able to do here. He's choosing not to push him in the corner. He's getting a little bit loose behind him. He's going to have to get back to him on the straightaway. Dylan Jones, the closer, one of those guys that just kind of shows up at the end of these races. He rides in the back. He kind of, if he makes a move early, he doesn't do it for long. He likes to ride at the back. He's another one of those guys like Vicente Guerrero or Kenny McCullough just bide their time and work their way through the field. Well, here he is again. He always finds a way. Now he is tasked with being the lead pusher to J.R. Miller. There are 3 cars on the outside line. Everyone else is just sitting single file right now. I'm perplexed. I'm very confused as to why no one in the back right now is trying to advance their way up forward, but you know, there's still 5 to go. This could get very wild very quick. Dawson Wise is still the leader, and it's still Matthew Baker and Asher Little, J.R. Miller, and Brian Hennings. Still the top 5. J.R. still doing everything in his power to advance up just row by row, car by car. But he's not getting a push from Dylan Jones either. Now Nathan Harper backs up. There's another pit stop. That's why we had another pit stop. Here they all come, the entire field coming in, and they're going to make it clean. So this right here is going to be the determining factor of this race. Who's going to have a clean pit stop? Who's going to have a bad one? Who's going to get out quickly? Who's going to be slow? We're going to find out right here and right now. The entire field pit under this caution. We're focused on Dawson Wise. He was the leader of the race. We're going to see what he's able to do. There's Hennings in the back. Ron Morris. Dave Flanagan. Baker. Wise is going to easily beat Matthew Baker. Look at that. A big run for Baker. But it's going to be up to the rest of this group to try and organize themselves coming out of the pits. But David Flanagan is now the leader of this line. But he is 6 laps down. But that is another one of Dawson Wise's teammates. 4 laps to go. We're coming to 3 laps to go this time by. This is unique. You usually don't see a pit stop this late. Wise goes around Flanagan. Baker goes with him. Jones has found his way to P3. J.R. Miller's going to have a huge run with Ron Morris, Nathan Harper, and Brian Hennings going to the outside. 3 wide with Flanagan, the lap car down there on the bottom. Baker makes his move. He's trying to go to the top side. Jones is going to get hooked in front of the field by J.R. Miller. That will bring the yellow flag out. Wise, Baker, Morris, potentially Miller is the top 3 right there. We went so clean for so long, and then Dylan Jones and J.R. Miller come together with 3 laps to go. Let's go ahead and take a look back at it real quick. This originated, as we said, Dylan Jones and J.R. Miller. This looked like Wise tried to put maybe a little bit of a block on Matthew Baker, and it just didn't work out. And then Jones wanted to go to the bottom, but he wasn't completely committed to it, and by that point, Miller was there. It hooks Dylan Jones. Jones is going to come back up the racetrack, get a little bit of damage maybe from Flanagan, but Hennings and Morris came together in the wall, and Brian Hennings has a ton of damage on his race car, but Dylan Jones might get away from this one okay. So we're going to get another look of what happened with Morris and Hennings. So the wreck happens up front. Oh, that's a net code. That's a massive net code between Jones and Miller is what that was. And then in the reaction to it, okay, Miller comes up into Morris, and then more net code. They were probably going to hit each other anyway. Morris and Hennings, that is. But lots of net code going on in this one. Look at Brian Hennings' car. So much damage on there, but I mean, he's not out of this race. There were only 13 cars on the lead lap, so he might very well still have a chance right here. Let's back this up again, and I want to look at J.R. Miller's onboard view. See what he sees. We'll back it up real quick. Another case of them, they were probably going to hit each other anyway. Just 2 people trying to go for the same piece of real estate on the racetrack. Go ahead and take it live. Wise, Baker, Miller, Morris, Hennings as the top 5. John Ward, Kenny McCullough, Asher Little, Vicente Guerrero, Jonathan Herbert as the top 10. Dylan Jones, and now Nathan Harper has gotten his lap back. Watch out for him in the closing stages of this. One of the dominators early on in this race has found his way back on the lead lap, but he's going to have to sift his way through a lot of lap cars and a lot of lead lap cars if he wants to look at this one. Let's see if we can grab a quick interview. We haven't done one of those in this race so far, on account of it being such a green flag run. But let's see if we could talk to J.R. Miller potentially and see his view on what happened right there. JR, Landon in the booth, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir, I'm here.
So you've been having a great race so far. You've been one of the 2 or 3 guys that have just been leading every lap of this one. How have you felt so far?
I'm getting more comfortable. I mean, I've raced a lot with, Dawson and Baker and, Ron and a lot of these guys in here. So just trying to hold my own, trying to not do anything stupid. I kind of went for the low line there because it seemed like I had a run. And, I felt I was down low enough, so I apologize if I wasn't, but I thought I had a lane there to go to.
Yeah, it looked like there might have been a little bit of netcode involved in that incident. Not only with you, but also the netcode of Morris off of your right side up into Brian Hennings. Just an unfortunate event coming to like 2 laps to go right here. But what do you think? What are your plans right here? Well, don't go ahead. Don't announce all your plans. Don't give out your strategies, obviously.
I've just kind of learned from watching some of the broadcasts. I've stepped out for, the last couple of months, take a break, take care of some other priorities. But I'm getting back. Got to get tuned up for the PGR 500. So we'll just see how the lanes go. I'm good with pushing either one of these guys up front, and hopefully if I get the opportunity to get up front, I can, challenge for that big W.
That sounds good. That is J.R. Miller. Thanks for talking to us.
Yep. Good broadcast, guys.
JR will be taking P3 for this first attempt at an overtime right here. Definitely one of the guys I think anyone out there would say probably deserves to win this race, just on account of how many laps he's led, how much he's been up front, along with Baker and Wise. Absolute domination by this group right here. And then there's Nathan Harper. I'm telling you, watch out for this guy. He's going to find a way back to the front. Now, does he have time in 2 laps to have a look at the win? I don't know. If there's a crash, maybe some luck needs to go his way. We'll find out. But keep an eye on that 7 car when we go back green here. Still Wise and Baker up at the front, obviously. The pace car will be rolling off to the pits this time by. We will have our first attempt at overtime. We have 2 more if we need them. And something's telling me we might need them. I know there's only 12 cars on the lead lap, but this can get very aggressive very quick. Brian Hennings stayed out with all that damage on his race car. Hopefully he's going to be up to speed for this one. Wise and Baker going to be rolling into the restart zone this time. 2 laps to go. Dawson goes very late. He waits for the green flag to come out, and that allows Baker a good jump on the outside. Baker's going to beat him to the line right there. And there's a little bit more organization on that top, it looks like right now at least. But here comes the bottom, the shorter way around the racetrack. John Ward getting squirrely behind Ron Morris. Baker has nobody right now. He needs Morris to get up to him. But John Ward splits him, and Asher Little goes with him. Brian Hennings up in front of Ron Morris. That third line, here it is, trying to start up now with John Ward, Asher Little, and Jonathan Herbert. But Brian Hennings' damage is hurting him. He cannot suck up to the back bumper of Matthew Baker, and Baker has nobody. But here comes Vicente Guerrero to the rescue. In that number 14 Budweiser car in the middle, Wise and J.R. Miller. Kenny McCullough's found his way to the top 3. We'll see what Kenny wants to do. He wants to go up in front of Baker. Baker's going to be pushing Kenny McCullough. Now it'll be up to Dawson Wise. What does he want to do? Final lap of this one. White flag is in the air. J.R. Miller getting pushed by Dylan Jones there on the bottom. Kenny McCullough's taking the lead. What a push from Matthew Baker. He's staying in the middle for right now. That third line had nowhere to go right there. Asher Little gives up on it, and he's going to door John Ward. Kenny McCullough, Matthew Baker still up front leading that outside. What is Kenny going to do? Is Kenny going to go to the bottom and cover Dawson Wise? He will. He's going to trust Dawson Wise to push him right here. We'll see if Vicente Guerrero can push Matthew Baker all the way home. It might be a photo finish to close this one off. Here comes the run from the outside. Kenny's going to have the advantage in the tri-oval. But what would Baker do? They're wrecking in the back. They're dooring a little bit. It's going to be a close one. Matthew Baker, I think, won the race. What a photo finish between him and Kenny McCullough. Triple zeros on my end. It's calling that Matthew Baker is the winner of the race. Wow. A photo finish at the line. We're going to have to go back and see just how close this was. Alright, let's go ahead and take this in slow-mo, move it to the photo finish camera, and see if we can pause it. Oh, yeah, Baker. Definitely Matthew Baker right here winning this one. It looked a lot closer, but here comes Baker. Bam, right there at the line with the edge over Kenny McCullough. Kenny had that run on the bottom. He chose to go to the bottom of the racetrack. That might be what hurt him in this one. Here's Matthew Baker burning it the house down. Now David Flanagan and Vicente Guerrero. Vince is having fun. He got a podium spot, and he's going to celebrate by being on his side at the start-finish line. We'll go ahead and go through the results right here as Baker does his burnouts and Vince sits there and spectates. Matthew Baker, your winner tonight by 9 thousandths of a second over Kenny McCullough Jr. A great comeback for Kenny to get that P2. Vicente Guerrero, he showed up, didn't he? He's sitting at the back, and here he is. He gets his podium. Dawson Wise rounds out in fourth. That's going to be disappointing for him. He easily led the most laps in this one. Then J.R. Miller in fifth. Asher Little will finish sixth. John Ward in seventh. Dylan Jones eighth. Jonathan Herbert ninth. Nathan Harper in 10th. Ron Morris fell all the way back to 11th right there. Brian Hennings in 12th. Mark Vondell, the first car a lap down, 13th place tonight. Ambrose Knable, 14th. Chris Keynes, 15th. Trevor Osronoff, 16th. Hunter Hastings in 17th. And Garrett Caswell will finish 18th tonight. 19th place will be David Sheets. Sean Corbett in 20th. James Waring, 21st. David Flanagan, 22nd. Heath Job, 23rd. Derek Raleigh, 24th. Scott McLean, 25th. Ron Hunter in 26th. Chase Mastretta, 27th. And Joshua McCullough rounds out the field. He actually did not take the grid tonight, but he will be scored in the 28th and final position. We're going to see if we can go ahead and grab your top three for interviews right here. Stick with us. All right, we are back, and we're going to go ahead and grab your winner, Matthew Baker. Matthew Baker, do you have a copy?
Yeah, what's up, brother?
Well, I said earlier during the race that it was probably going to be either you, Dawson Wise, or J.R. Miller, because y'all were the ones dominating this thing, and in the end, you ended up taking the win. Walk us through
it. It was a really fun. I really wish that last 3-lap run would have happened, because it's just such a unique run to have towards the end, where you have to come up to speed and you have like 1 or 2 laps to put yourself in position, and it would have really shown who could execute on their pit stops and get the get the win there and try and get in the position. But me and Dawson got kind of outset, and I didn't want to turn him, so I went up to the third lane. And when I did that, killed our run, and everyone shuffled to the bottom. But no, it was good pushing Dawson up there. Harper was doing good until that first pit stop where he messed up. But I wouldn't have got there without Vince. It was all Vince there. It was nothing I could do in the middle. Morris had damage, and then so did Henning. So everyone was dropping back. But then once Vince got tucked up to me, and I saw McCullough about to get clear from the bottom up to the middle, I knew we were going to absolutely fly because there's only 2 down there. And JR was doing great, but that's just it's an impossible run to stop there. And Kenny was doing really good managing the lanes. I thought he was going to come up on corner exit to go for the block, but he talked about it. Just wants it to be a good points day for him, and I don't know if I can run all of these, so I'm going to come out when the cars are fun, and this is one of my favorite cars and one of my favorite paints.
Yeah, absolutely. You did Lightning McQueen proud in this one by 9,000ths of a second. The win over Kenny McCullough, the run on the outside through the tri-oval. Go ahead and give out your thanks and your shout-outs.
Yeah, just thanks to Ghosting Thunder, MBG Motorsports, Baker and Son Construction. Thanks to JR, Dawson, Nathan. Asher was doing great up there up front most of the race. Morris the same way. It was good. It was good to see everyone up there competing. And I mean, only 12 cars finishing on the lead lap just shows how the execution of the pit stops came into play. So it was a lot of fun. And thanks for you putting on the broadcast for PGR eSports. And thanks to John for putting on the race and family watching back at home. Thanks, brother.
Yes, sir. That is Matthew Baker, your winner here tonight. We're going to go ahead and get a word with Kenny McCullough as well. Kenny McCullough, Landon in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Got you, buddy.
9,000ths of a second. It was that close between you and Baker. Walk me through it.
Take it, man. I'm just glad to finish and not be upside downwards coming across the line. That was a damn good race, though. I had a good time.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun one to watch. And I made mention of this to Baker as well. It was the same kind of guys up front. It was Baker, J.R. Miller, and Dawson Wise that led most of it. But you have to always watch out for people like you and Vicente Guerrero that like to bide their time, be patient, sit in the back, and wait for their moment to come. That's exactly what you just did. So on that final restart, what were your thoughts? Were you planning on, if you got the outside and cleared, were you going to go to the bottom the whole time, or did you want to stay to the outside and get the push from Baker? What were you thinking?
I wasn't really sure there. I knew Ron had some damage in the middle. Wasn't sure how that middle lane was going to get going. I was a little pissed. I had to start on the bottom there. Vicente pitted in front of me on the caution there. Well, I was 8th, and then I had to restart 7th. But it all worked out, man. I was glad to get 2nd for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. A good points day for sure. So go ahead and give out your thanks and your shout-outs, Kenny.
Thank you for doing the broadcast. Thank John for putting this thing on. Thank all them promoters out there that do this every night. And thank everybody to tune in and watch, and all my teammates.
Yes, sir. That is Kenny McCullough, your second-place finisher here tonight. We're going to go ahead and grab a quick word with Vicente Guerrero as well. Vicente Guerrero, Landon in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Yes, sir. What's up, Landon?
Well, you came up out of nowhere from the back of the pack, ended up P3 in this one. Go ahead and walk us through it.
Well, that last caution there, I took a gamble. I noticed there wasn't too many cars on the lead packed there, so I said, you know what? My rights are pretty shot from the last time we had a pit under green. I took the chance and the gamble, and I took some rights, and car felt great, man. And I noticed that Baker got by himself in the middle lane, and I go, well, that was great. That was a good deal there. And I was able to get in a lot of positions and just be committed behind Baker to see if I could get some money spot, or if not a podium.
Yes, sir. I was talking to Kenny just a second ago about people like you and him that like to sit back and wait for your moment to come. And you and Kenny proved that right, because y'all just, from the back, out of nowhere, straight up finished 2nd and 3rd tonight on the podium. It was a very impressive run for sure. But how bad was the tire wear out there? We know it's a thing in these cars because they're very fast. But how significant was it? We could see, was it tight? Was it loose? What was really going on out there?
I'd say it'd be more tight on apex, I guess you would want to say. It just wants to wash up, later in the runs. But it wasn't too too bad. I mean, it was drivable still. Everybody was on the same tires anyways. So that's the reason why. One of the reasons why I pitted that last time to get the rights and was able to, maintain more momentum and speed.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely brings in a factor to these races. A little bit of different skill factor for sure. Well, go ahead and give out your thanks and your shout outs.
Well, I want to thank you for broadcasting. Can't wait to watch this one back. And then John for putting on this league. It was my first race in this league, and hopefully, could gain some more points. I want to also thank my teammates. I didn't really race with them tonight, but I want to thank Nightmare eSports for all what they done, and I want to also thank my family out in Arizona.
Yes, sir. Well, that is Vicente Guerrero, your third place finisher here tonight. Well, it was definitely a clean race that we had here tonight. It was very nice to see that, kind of refreshing. Only 2 yellow flags, one very early and one very late. And like Baker alluded to, pit stops always seem to separate men from the boys. And that is by no means an insult to anybody, but that is always what seems to happen in these races. If you have a green flag pit stop, you have to execute that perfectly. You have that pressure under you. Enter right, or enter fast, but not too fast, and then hold your speed as best as you can. Get into your box as fast as you can without overdoing it. It's a very different sort of skill set, getting good at pit stops and executing those as well as possible to help you advance your position and also stick with the pack and not lose any positions in the process. And that's what we saw tonight. It was a 12-car breakaway. Yes, there was a very early crash that took out a lot of names, but we saw some green flag racing, which I think is something we all love seeing more than yellow flag pacing. So it's very refreshing to see that. Congrats again to Matthew Baker, your winner here tonight in that number 95 Lightning McQueen Chevrolet Monte Carlo. Thanks for tuning in. Go ahead and go get signed up for the PGR 500 if you have not already. That is closing in. January 28th is heat number 1. We're going to have heats, we're going to have duels, we're going to have the feature, and it's going to be a big, big payout. Go ahead and try your luck. Sign up for it. See if you can make the feature. PGResports.com. Go get yourself signed up for that. Congrats again to Matthew Baker, your winner here tonight. For Kenny McCullough as well for his P2, Vicente Guerrero, and all these underdogs that had good finishes. How about Asher Little up there getting a cash spot, P5. J.R. Miller is an underdog, but he's coming back to it and probably deserved a better finish, but overall a great race by him. Jonathan Herbert, P9, he was up front the whole time too. It's good to see that. Very happy to see the good runs for those guys and good points finishes for them as well. Well, for PGR Esports, for John Ward, DegaPros, the whole money racing community, thanks to everyone out there for watching. Tune in Monday night as well for the PGR Light Series. There'll be race number 6 in that series. We're closing in towards the end of that one as well. Go ahead and mark your calendar for that one to tune in to on Monday night. Appreciate y'all coming out and watching. We hope you all have a very, very good night.